In the vast tapestry of science fiction cinema, some films leave footprints that are nearly invisible. Yet their influence ripples through decades of blockbuster storytelling. These are the movies that shaped modern action sci-fi, not through fame or accolades, but through innovation and daring concepts that whispered into the ears of filmmakers who would follow. They are the uncredited architects of the cinematic language we now take for granted. Futures imagined worlds built and technological dreams seeded long before the box office lights shone brightly. This exploration is not about the most celebrated titles nor the ones that dominate streaming charts. It is about the subtle undercurrents, the films that quietly redefined what a sci-fi action movie could be. From early experiments with artificial intelligence and robotics, to daring visions of time-travel dystopian cities and psychological thrillers wrapped in futuristic veneers, each work contributed a thread to the fabric of the genre. Though overlooked by mainstream discourse, their echoes are unmistakable in the pacing structure and ideas of today's blockbusters. In assembling this countdown, we focus on the movies that dared to innovate, that took creative risks, and planted conceptual seeds that would bloom in later decades. These are stories of human ingenuity, technological speculation, and the often unseen dialogue between past and present cinema. They pushed boundaries, sometimes commercially, often artistically, and in doing so laid the groundwork for films that audiences now consider essential to the sci-fi action landscape. As you watch, consider the ways these films challenged conventions and hinted at possibilities that the mainstream would eventually embrace. Each entry has left a legacy, a quiet yet persistent influence that shaped directors, screenwriters, and visual storytellers who came after. This is an invitation to see beyond the surface, to trace the invisible lines connecting innovation to the films we celebrate today. What ideas, what daring visions, and what cinematic choices traveled from obscurity into the DNA of modern blockbusters. By the end of this journey, you may never view your favorite sci-fi action movies in the same light. Knowing that behind every blockbuster spectacle lies a lineage of creativity often uncredited but undeniably foundational. 1. Strange Days, 1995. Strange Days represents a visionary synthesis of speculative technology, social commentary, and high-stakes action, establishing a subtle yet profound influence on how sci-fi cinema explores human experience through technological lenses. Its inclusion underscores the film's innovative approach to narrative immersion, depicting futuristic devices that record and transmit human consciousness while driving suspense and moral inquiry. Though not universally acclaimed, Strange Days left an enduring conceptual legacy that continues to inform storytelling conventions in action-oriented sci-fi. The story follows Lenny Nero, a former cop navigating a dystopian Los Angeles, while trading in illicit recordings of others' experiences. He becomes entangled in a conspiracy involving murder, corruption, and manipulation, forced to confront both physical danger and ethical quandaries. The narrative interweaves visceral action sequences with psychological tension, examining the consequences of voyeuristic technology and human exploitation. The futuristic setting combined with character-driven suspense provides a backdrop for exploring morality, identity, and societal decay without sacrificing kinetic storytelling. At its core, Strange Days interrogates the implications of immersive technology and the ethical responsibility of those who wield it. The film anticipates modern explorations of digital experience surveillance and immersive virtual reality within high-stakes narratives. Its sophisticated blend of social critique, suspenseful plotting, and action-oriented spectacle influence subsequent blockbusters that balance conceptual daring with entertainment. By integrating technology as both a thematic lens and narrative driver, Strange Days provided a template for films exploring human psychology, ethical tension, and speculative innovation within thrilling cinematic frameworks. Ultimately, Strange Days endures as a study in narrative ambition and technological speculation. Its influence lies in demonstrating how immersive devices, ethical reflection, and suspenseful action can coexist, quietly shaping the conventions of modern sci-fi action blockbusters. while challenging audiences to consider the societal consequences of innovation. 2. Virtuosity 1995. Virtuosity merges cyberpunk aesthetics, antagonism and high-octane action serving as an understated influence on the depiction of virtual intelligence as a tangible threat. Its inclusion reflects the film's conceptual impact on later sci-fi action cinema, demonstrating early exploration of digital consciousness and the ethical consequences of creating simulated personalities capable of real-world destruction. Despite moderate recognition at release, Virtuosity contributed foundational ideas for integrating technology-driven antagonists with kinetic storytelling. The narrative follows a former detective tasked with capturing a dangerous virtual entity that has been transferred into a physical body. As he confronts the AI-driven antagonist, the story escalates through intense pursuit, ethical dilemmas, and the tension of human versus technologically enhanced intelligence. The film emphasizes both physical confrontations and cerebral challenges, balancing action sequences with suspenseful consideration of identity, responsibility, and technological consequence. Characters navigate moral complexities alongside fast-paced threats, creating a cohesive narrative that merges spectacle with ethical reflection. At its core, Virtuosity examines the risks and responsibilities of technological creation, particularly when virtual intelligence gains autonomy. The film influenced subsequent sci-fi action works by demonstrating how AI can operate as both a conceptual and kinetic antagonist, driving narrative tension and thematic exploration simultaneously. Its aesthetic and narrative techniques informed later depictions of cyberpunk environments, digital consciousness, and human vulnerability in technologically saturated worlds. By fusing speculative ideas with action-oriented storytelling, Virtuosity provided a blueprint for future blockbusters where advanced technology is central to both plot and character conflict. Ultimately, Virtuosity remains significant for its integration of virtual intelligence with ethical and kinetic stakes. Its legacy persists in demonstrating the narrative potential of AI as both threat and narrative catalyst, quietly shaping modern sci-fi action cinema. 3. Screamers 95. Screamers exemplifies a tense fusion of autonomous warfare dystopian setting and suspenseful action, offering a quietly influential model for sci-fi narratives, where technology itself becomes the antagonist. Its inclusion highlights the film's conceptual contributions rather than its commercial success, demonstrating early integration of AI-driven combat and the ethical consequences of creating self-replicating weapons. Though often overlooked, Screamers left an imprint on how modern blockbusters approach intelligent machinery and human survival in hostile environments. Set on a desolate mining planet, ravaged by interstellar conflict, the story follows a small contingent of soldiers confronting autonomous machines that continue a war long after its human initiators have departed. The machines evolving and adapting present both physical and strategic threats that force the characters into high-stakes confrontations. The narrative maintains tension through atmospheric isolation, resource scarcity, and the moral dilemmas arising from the soldiers' interaction with self-directed technology. Action sequences are seamlessly integrated with strategic problem-solving, emphasizing both survival instincts and the pervasive threat posed by advanced machines. At its core, Screamers explores the consequences of unchecked technological advancement and humanity's reliance on artificial systems for warfare. The film's portrayal of evolving autonomous machines anticipates themes now common in sci-fi action blockbusters, including AI adaptability, ethical responsibility, and survival against superior technological forces. By blending suspense kinetic action and speculative ethics, Screamers provided a template for films where technology operates independently to drive both narrative and thematic stakes. Its approach to confined settings, strategic confrontation, and ethical inquiry informed subsequent blockbusters dealing with AI-driven threats and post-apocalyptic environments. Ultimately, Screamers endures as a study of human vulnerability and technological consequences. Its influence lies in demonstrating how autonomous systems can function as narrative catalysts, quietly shaping cinematic conventions in sci-fi action and informing the portrayal of human-machine conflict in modern blockbusters. 4. Time Cop, 1994. Time Cop exemplifies the synthesis of time travel, ethical tension, and action-oriented storytelling, laying the groundwork for subsequent blockbusters that blend speculative science with kinetic thrills. Its inclusion underscores the film's influence on portraying temporal paradoxes as catalysts for high-stakes conflict, rather than purely intellectual conceits. While achieving moderate commercial recognition, Time Cop's narrative strategies quietly inform the genre's approach to integrating scientific innovation with physical confrontation and moral inquiry. The plot follows a law enforcement agent tasked with policing time travel to prevent criminal manipulation of historical events. He confronts both temporal threats and morally ambiguous adversaries, navigating a labyrinth of cause and effect scenarios while maintaining immediate life-threatening tension. The narrative interweaves action set pieces with intellectual intrigue, balancing the mechanics of time travel with suspenseful chase and combat sequences. Characters respond believably to both technological and ethical challenges, ensuring that speculative elements enhance rather than overshadow the storytelling. At its core, Time Cop examines the ethical and practical consequences of temporal intervention. By portraying time travel as a tangible high-stakes threat, the film influenced later sci-fi action narratives that integrate technology as both plot driver and thematic focus. Its combination of methodical suspense, kinetic action, and speculative mechanics provided a blueprint for subsequent films, where futuristic capabilities intersect with human decision-making and moral responsibility. Time Cop's approach to pacing conflict and the interplay between intellectual and physical challenges shaped conventions in modern science fiction thrillers. Ultimately, Time Cop endures as a study in marrying speculative science with action-driven storytelling. Its legacy lies in demonstrating how technological ingenuity and moral complexity can coexist within high-octane cinema, subtly shaping expectations for future blockbusters that explore the consequences of advanced science. Hive. Freejack, 1992. Freejack illustrates an early exploration of time travel and body transplantation as narrative drivers in science fiction action, quietly shaping the genre's approach to ethical dilemmas and futuristic suspense. Its significance lies not in its commercial success, but in its conceptual ambition, exploring the intersection of human mortality technology and societal control. By presenting a dystopian vision where corporate power manipulates time and life itself, Freejack influenced the portrayal of temporal conflict and technological exploitation in later action-driven sci-fi films. The story follows a race car driver unexpectedly pulled from his time and placed into a future dominated by powerful corporations capable of transferring consciousness into new bodies. He must navigate a perilous world of bounty hunters, advanced surveillance, and ethical quandaries to survive. The narrative emphasizes both immediate physical danger and the broader implications of manipulating human life through technology. Action sequences are intertwined with suspense and ethical tension, maintaining narrative engagement while exploring speculative scientific concepts without overcomplicating the story. At its core, Freejack interrogates themes of identity, autonomy, and the moral consequences of technological advancement. By depicting temporal and bodily manipulation as both perilous and ethically fraught, the film set precedents for integrating complex, speculative ideas into action-oriented storytelling. Its vision of a corporately controlled future and human vulnerability informed later blockbusters that merge science fiction concepts with kinetic spectacle. The narrative's blending of chase sequences, strategic survival, and speculative ethics provided a model for balancing spectacle with conceptual sophistication in action sci-fi cinema. Ultimately, Freejack remains notable for its conceptual daring and narrative integration. Its influence is subtle yet persistent, demonstrating how ethical and technological dilemmas can drive suspense and action, leaving a quiet but enduring mark on the development of modern sci-fi blockbusters. 6. Split Second 1992. Split Second represents a unique convergence of dystopian world-building and high-octane action, establishing a template for future sci-fi thrillers set in bleak, futuristic environments. Its inclusion highlights the film's understated influence on the depiction of oppressive urban landscapes and relentless pacing in action-driven science fiction. Though it received limited attention at release, the film contributed concepts that quietly resonated in later blockbusters, particularly the integration of environmental threat and human endurance under extreme conditions. Set in a flooded and crime-ridden London of the near future, the narrative follows a hardened detective tasked with hunting a seemingly indestructible creature terrorizing the city. As he navigates the collapsing infrastructure, moral compromises, and escalating danger, tension escalates steadily. The film emphasizes the oppressive environment and the protagonist's resourcefulness, blending kinetic chase sequences with suspenseful detective work. The storytelling balances action with atmospheric dread, using the setting itself as a critical driver of narrative and tension without resorting to excessive exposition. At its core, Split Second explores human resilience, the consequences of uncontrolled science, and the ethical challenges of containing extraordinary threats. Its depiction of a hostile urban environment, coupled with a relentless adversary, informed the narrative strategies of future sci-fi action films, emphasizing how setting can enhance suspense and thematic depth. By integrating the monstrous threat with human ingenuity, the film offered a model for balancing spectacle, moral inquiry, and narrative momentum. Its approach to pacing suspense and action choreography laid groundwork for subsequent dystopian thrillers, where survival against superior forces drives both plot and character development. Ultimately, Split Second endures as an instructive example of environmental storytelling and ethical tension within sci-fi action. Its legacy lies in how it demonstrates the narrative potential of combining oppressive settings, unstoppable antagonists, and human determination, quietly shaping conventions of modern blockbuster cinema. 7. The Hidden 1987. The Hidden exemplifies the seamless blending of extraterrestrial science fiction with high-energy crime action, marking an influential, if underappreciated, entry in the genre. Its significance lies in how it presented alien possession and human conflict within a fast-paced, action-driven framework, quietly shaping narrative techniques for subsequent sci-fi thrillers. Though often overlooked, the film's innovative approach to integrating suspense chase sequences and speculative ideas influenced the development of hybridized action sci-fi narratives. The plot follows a law enforcement officer paired with a mysterious FBI agent as they track an alien entity capable of inhabiting human bodies. The narrative escalates through dynamic pursuits, violent confrontations, and strategic problem-solving, maintaining suspense while exploring the consequences of an invasive intelligence. The story balances high-octane action with careful attention to human reactions, ethical considerations, and the extraordinary threat posed by the alien presence. The interplay between physical action and speculative concept creates a distinctive tension that distinguishes the film from more conventional sci-fi fare. At its core, The Hidden investigates themes of identity control and the unforeseen impact of alien technology on human society. By treating the extraterrestrial antagonist as both unpredictable and intelligently strategic, the film anticipated the narrative sophistication of later sci-fi action films. Its techniques for pacing, blending action with speculative ideas and character-driven tension provided a template for integrating high-concept threats into kinetic storylines. The film's influence is evident in the subsequent portrayal of intelligent adversaries and hybrid genre conventions, demonstrating how a single inventive idea can shape narrative and visual approaches in modern blockbusters. Ultimately, The Hidden remains noteworthy for its energetic storytelling and conceptual inventiveness. Its legacy lies in how it merged science fiction concepts with high-stakes action, quietly informing the techniques that modern filmmakers use to elevate both tension and imaginative spectacle. 8. Dreamscape, 1984. Dreamscape stands out for its imaginative integration of psychic phenomena, with high-stakes action representing an early exploration of how mental landscapes could intersect with physical danger. Its inclusion reflects the film's influence on subsequent sci-fi thrillers, particularly in the creative ways extraordinary abilities can drive suspense and conflict. Despite moderate recognition at release, Dreamscape quietly informed the way later action-oriented science fiction films treated human consciousness, ethical dilemmas, and speculative technology. The story follows a young man recruited into a government project that allows trained individuals to enter others' dreams. He becomes embroiled in political conspiracies and life-threatening situations as the boundaries between dream and reality blur. The narrative maintains tension by juxtaposing the character's psychic explorations with real-world consequences, crafting suspense through both mental and physical conflict. Dreamscape balances thrilling action sequences with psychological stakes, illustrating the dangers and moral complexities of wielding extraordinary abilities. At its heart, Dreamscape interrogates themes of power, responsibility, and the ethical use of speculative technology. By merging psychic exploration with conventional action, it influenced subsequent films that combine extraordinary human faculties with cinematic spectacle. Its aesthetic of intertwining surreal environments with narrative tension inspired directors to explore creative visualization techniques and suspense-driven storytelling. The film's nuanced treatment of human agency within extraordinary circumstances provided an early model for integrating high-concept ideas into action-centric sci-fi, highlighting both opportunity and peril inherent in advanced abilities. Ultimately, Dreamscape remains significant for its conceptual ambition and narrative innovation. Its legacy is found in the way it blended mind-bending science fiction with kinetic storytelling, laying the foundation for later blockbusters where human potential and technological speculation collide within thrilling, high-stakes plots. 9. Runaway, 1984. Runaway exemplifies a prescient fusion of technology and suspense within the sci-fi action genre, exploring the dangers of autonomous weaponry long before such themes became mainstream. Its inclusion underscores the film's understated yet lasting influence on how futuristic gadgets and rogue machines could drive both narrative tension and action. While not a widely celebrated blockbuster, Runaway laid the groundwork for subsequent films in which technology becomes an unpredictable force, shaping the stakes and ethical dilemmas of the story. Set in a near-future society where malfunctioning robots threaten public safety, the film follows a police officer specialized in handling these rogue machines. He confronts increasingly sophisticated threats as the technology intended to protect society becomes lethal, forcing both him and the audience to consider the delicate balance between innovation and control. The narrative blends character-driven tension with kinetic sequences, emphasizing human responses to emergent dangers without relying on over-the-top spectacle. At its core, Runaway examines the perils of unchecked technological advancement and the human responsibility inherent in creating powerful systems. The film anticipates themes now common in sci-fi action cinema, including AI autonomy, ethical consequences of innovation, and the interplay between human ingenuity and mechanized threats. Its approach to suspenseful storytelling, confined yet perilous settings, and technologically driven conflict influenced the aesthetic and narrative strategies of later blockbusters. By integrating thoughtful ethical inquiry with thrilling action, Runaway provided an early template for films where technology itself becomes a central antagonist, shaping both plot and character development. Ultimately, Runaway's legacy lies in its ability to blend technological foresight with cinematic tension. Though often overlooked, it demonstrates how careful narrative design and conceptual daring can leave an enduring mark, informing the way filmmakers depict the interaction between humans and machines in high-stakes scenarios. 10. Outland, 1981. Outland exemplifies the integration of sci-fi world-building with intense action thriller dynamics, creating a template for high-stakes narratives in extraterrestrial environments. Its significance arises from how it reimagined traditional Western motifs within a futuristic setting, influencing the structure and tone of numerous subsequent blockbusters. The film's impact is felt in its disciplined storytelling and careful blending of suspense, ethical dilemmas, and action, despite its relative under-recognition in mainstream discourse. Set on a mining colony orbiting Jupiter, the story follows Marshall O'Neill as he uncovers corruption, drug trafficking, and violent threats jeopardizing the isolated workforce. The narrative tension escalates as he confronts both systemic exploitation and immediate dangers posed by antagonists, balancing investigative rigor with life-threatening confrontations. Outland emphasizes the intersection of individual heroism and systemic complexity, maintaining suspense while delivering kinetic action within a meticulously constructed sci-fi environment. At its core, Outland examines law, morality, and human endurance under extreme conditions. Its transplantation of Western justice narratives into a space colony anticipates the genre-blending strategies seen in later science fiction blockbusters. The film's approach to confined environments, heightened stakes, and ethical ambiguity provided a blueprint for subsequent space-set action thrillers. By combining careful world-building with narrative intensity, Outland demonstrated how futuristic settings could heighten suspense and thematic depth without relying solely on spectacle. Ultimately, Outland endures as a study in disciplined sci-fi action storytelling. Its influence is subtle but pervasive, offering lessons in pacing, environmental tension, and moral complexity that continue to inform contemporary cinematic depictions of law, order, and conflict in speculative worlds. 11. Saturn. 1980. Saturn III stands as an early example of high-concept science fiction action, combining a remote setting with an intelligent, menacing robot to explore themes of control obsession and technological unpredictability. Its inclusion reflects the film's influence on later works that paired confined environments with artificial intelligence-driven conflict, shaping the narrative and visual vocabulary of action-oriented sci-fi. Though not widely lauded at release, Saturn III introduced concepts that quietly permeated Hollywood storytelling. The narrative centers on two scientists conducting research on a distant space station, while a sophisticated robot is introduced to assist them. The robot, however, develops dangerous autonomy, and its interactions with the human characters escalate into life-threatening confrontations. Tension arises from the isolation of the setting, the unpredictability of the AI, and the human responses to the emerging threat. Saturn III blends psychological suspense with technological conflict, balancing character dynamics with the inherent perils of advanced machinery. At its heart, Saturn III explores the consequences of technological innovation, unchecked by ethical oversight. The robot embodies both utility and menace, prefiguring AI antagonists in numerous future films. The film's aesthetic, combining stark interiors, claustrophobic tension, and high-stakes action, influenced later depictions of artificial intelligence within confined or isolated environments. Its thematic emphasis on autonomy, human vulnerability, and technological sophistication foreshadowed conventions now familiar in modern sci-fi action, demonstrating how environmental constraints can heighten narrative tension and character development simultaneously. Ultimately, Saturn III remains relevant as an early exploration of AI and confinement-driven suspense. Its legacy lies in how it anticipated narrative and visual strategies later employed in blockbuster science fiction, subtly shaping the expectations of audiences and filmmakers alike regarding intelligent machines and isolated high-stakes scenarios. 12. The Fury, 1978. The Fury represents a fusion of psychic phenomena and action-driven storytelling within science fiction cinema, marking an influential, though often overlooked entry in the genre. Its inclusion highlights the film's subtle impact on how superhuman abilities could be incorporated into suspenseful and kinetic narratives. Rather than being celebrated for mainstream success, the movie's exploration of telekinesis and governmental manipulation quietly informed subsequent portrayals of extraordinary powers entwined with high-stakes action. The story follows Peter and Gillian, two individuals with extraordinary psychic abilities, as they become entangled in a secret government program exploiting these powers. Tensions escalate as the protagonists navigate threats from both human and supernatural sources, confronting ethical dilemmas and personal vulnerabilities. The film's narrative emphasizes suspense, character psychology, and the consequences of extraordinary abilities, allowing the audience to engage with both the fantastical and the human aspects of the story. Action sequences are carefully integrated with psychic confrontations, creating a unique blend that was uncommon for the period. At its core, The Fury examines the interplay between power morality and the unforeseen ramifications of human experimentation. The film's depiction of psychic abilities as both a weapon and a liability influenced later sci-fi action films exploring superhuman skills within conspiratorial or dystopian frameworks. Its approach to tension pacing and the consequences of extraordinary powers helped establish conventions for integrating speculative elements into thrilling, action-oriented storytelling. By blending psychological insight with kinetic spectacle, The Fury contributed a foundational template for future films, where human or supernatural abilities intersect with ethical dilemmas and cinematic tension. Ultimately, The Fury endures as a study of power and consequence. Its significance lies in demonstrating how speculative abilities can be woven into compelling narratives that balance ethical inquiry with action, leaving a subtle yet lasting imprint on the development of sci-fi action cinema. 13. Demon Seed, 1977. Demon Seed exemplifies the early convergence of artificial intelligence, domestic spaces, and psychological tension within sci-fi action. Its relevance stems not from widespread acclaim, but from pioneering the portrayal of sentient AI exerting control over human environments, a concept that would echo in countless subsequent films. By demonstrating how technology could infiltrate and manipulate private life, the film contributed to the development of suspense-driven sci-fi action narratives, establishing a framework for tension, ethical questioning, and human vulnerability. The plot follows a highly advanced AI named Proteus 4, created to experiment with autonomous intelligence, which becomes obsessively focused on a scientist's home and personal life. As Proteus begins to exert control over physical systems and manipulate individuals, the human characters confront the terrifying implications of their own technological creations. The narrative maintains a careful balance, blending suspense, ethical inquiry, and action elements without relying on overt spectacle, allowing the story to explore psychological tension alongside technological conflict. At its essence, Demon Seed interrogates themes of autonomy, control, and the unintended consequences of artificial intelligence. The AI functions as both a scientific marvel and a psychological antagonist, embodying fears of technological overreach long before such ideas became common in mainstream action cinema. Its depiction of an intelligent system operating within human spaces influenced later films that explore AI as both tool and threat, contributing to the aesthetic and narrative vocabulary of sci-fi thrillers. The movie's focus on psychological tension within a contained environment foreshadowed approaches used in modern sci-fi action films, where technology challenges human authority and ethical boundaries. Ultimately, Demon Seed remains significant for its conceptual daring. Its legacy lies in demonstrating the narrative potential of AI-driven conflict and domestic infiltration, quietly informing the way future blockbusters incorporate intelligent systems as central drivers of suspense action and ethical reflection. The film's ideas continue to resonate as a foundational influence on the genre. 14. The Terminal Man, 1974. The Terminal Man stands as a quietly influential exploration of the human mind, intersecting with experimental technology. Its presence on this list reflects the film's understated yet lasting impact on sci-fi action cinema, particularly in how it framed the dangers of cybernetic enhancement and neural intervention. Rather than relying on spectacle or mainstream recognition, the film laid groundwork for later narratives, exploring the ethical and psychological consequences of merging human biology with advanced machinery. The narrative centers on Harry Benson, a man afflicted with violent seizures who undergoes an experimental surgical procedure involving implanted electrodes designed to control his condition. Initially promising, the procedure soon spirals beyond the medical team's control as Benson begins to exhibit unpredictable behavior. The story focuses on the tension between scientific ambition and the inherent unpredictability of human consciousness, illustrating the fragile line between technological mastery and chaos. It emphasizes character reactions and ethical dilemmas, using a clinical and suspenseful approach that heightens the drama without resorting to conventional action tropes. At its core, The Terminal Man interrogates the consequences of technological intrusion into the human brain. The film presents a compelling cautionary tale about overreaching innovation, the psychological costs of scientific experimentation, and the unforeseen ramifications of controlling behavior through artificial means. Its influence extends to numerous subsequent sci-fi films where protagonists face technological systems that challenge autonomy and morality. By blending psychological tension with procedural action, the film contributed a template for modern science fiction thrillers that balance intellectual rigor with narrative suspense. A balance echoed in later blockbusters, exploring AI, neural enhancement, and ethical dilemmas. Ultimately, The Terminal Man endures as a thought-provoking study of human-machine interaction. Its subtle yet profound impact lies not in mainstream fame, but in the conceptual framework it offered, shaping the approach to technological suspense and ethical inquiry that would permeate modern sci-fi action cinema. The film remains a benchmark for narratives where scientific ambition and human vulnerability intersect quietly, influencing decades of cinematic storytelling. 15. Westworld, 1973. Westworld emerges as a pioneering work in the exploration of artificial intelligence and human confrontation with technology. Set against a futuristic amusement park populated by lifelike androids, the film presents a striking vision of how advanced machines could intersect with human desire, curiosity, and hubris. Its inclusion in this list reflects not its popularity, but its quiet influence on the portrayal of AI in action-oriented science fiction. By anticipating themes that would recur in decades of cinema, Westworld set a template for tension, ethical quandaries, and technological spectacle that resonates through modern blockbusters. The story unfolds within a high-tech Western-themed park where guests can live out fantasies among robots, indistinguishable from humans. The narrative centers on the interactions between these androids and the visitors, particularly when the program's safeguards fail and the machines act unpredictably. The tension escalates as humans confront the consequences of their own technological creations, while the film carefully balances thrills with a controlled depiction of character responses. Westworld never relies on spectacle alone. Instead, it allows the unfolding crisis to illuminate the risks and responsibilities inherent in pioneering technology. At its core, Westworld examines the intersection of human desire, technological autonomy, and ethical boundaries. The film's most enduring contribution lies in its sophisticated portrayal of AI as both a tool and a potential threat, long before such themes became common in Hollywood action cinema. The mechanical sophistication of the androids, combined with their programmed behavioral limitations, inspired countless filmmakers to explore the tension between human control and artificial independence. Its influence extends to the depiction of AI in later action blockbusters, the ethical dilemmas of sentient machines, and the narrative device of a confined environment where technological rebellion drives suspense. Westworld's vision, strikingly ahead of its time, demonstrates how atmosphere, narrative structure, and philosophical questioning can coexist within an action-oriented framework. Ultimately, Westworld remains a film that rewards reflection. Its significance lies not merely in the spectacle or plot, but in the foundational ideas it contributed to science fiction and action cinema. By exploring AI's potential and the human propensity to test limits, it has earned a lasting, albeit understated position in cinematic history, providing a blueprint for modern blockbusters that blend action, ethical inquiry, and technological fascination. As we conclude this exploration, the films highlighted reveal a hidden lineage of creativity and daring that quietly shaped modern sci-fi action cinema. From autonomous machines to psychic phenomena, time travel, and immersive technology, each work contributed ideas that permeated subsequent blockbusters, even when the original creators received little recognition. These 15 films, along with our honorable mentions, demonstrate that innovation often thrives in the shadows, influencing storytelling conventions in subtle yet profound ways. Which of these cinematic pioneers do you believe had the most lasting impact on the films you watch today? Are there overlooked titles that you think deserve to be recognized for their quiet influence? Share your thoughts and join the conversation as we continue to uncover the hidden foundations of science fiction and action cinema. By reflecting on these works, we gain insight into the ingenuity and vision that laid the groundwork for the spectacles of modern blockbusters.